This is Off Track.
Hi, Chris. Bye, Chris.
I do always feel bad when Chris just disappears when we start.
I know.
When we start the episode.
It feels unfair. He is an integral part of the show behind the scenes. Some of you may not know that Chris exists, but he exists, and he's great. And he always chats with us before we start, and then as soon as we start, we kick him off, and feels mean. It feels mean.
Yeah. So Chris is with Sirius. He's the one who does all of our social media promos. So those little short clips that trick you guys into watching the show. Chris does those. I don't do those. He's a better editor than I am.
Obviously,
it's not hard. It's not hard.
Super.
I mean, I did go to school for it, but that's fine.
You did, and this is how good you are.
This is the end product.
I really hope it was like free school. Yeah.
I wish, man, because it was not cheap. USC is, sorry.
It may not be cheap, but at least you can't do what you were taught.
I mean, the episodes are out. I feel like the multicam editing's pretty good. I'm working with what I get from you guys.
We don't control the feeds that you get.
I mean,
the content is brilliant.
Is it?
Isn't it?
Is it though?
Okay, look, we all know there's not a lot of racing that's happened this week. We can talk about, did you watch any of Talladega?
No.
That wreck was so funny.
So the largest wreck in NASCAR history. 27 or 28 cars involved.
It was 28.
Yeah.
More than you guys will be allowed to run.
Yeah, more cars wrecked in that than the average IndyCar race start. So yeah, it was like 3 laps to go. Car that was running in the front of the pack gets turned in front of the whole pack, and it was but there was like several stints in the middle where they were running like legitimately 4 wide, 5 or 60. It was pretty insane. Then yeah, we crashed basically the entire field. But here's what's funny, man. Like, so Cindric was the guy that got turned. He was running up front. I think he was leading. And he gets turned around, and then you see the interviews afterwards. These guys are just so used to getting completely dumped in these races and like not finishing these races that even a guy that was leading with 3 laps to go was just like, yeah, great execution by the team. It's great to be running up there at the time, but it is what it is. Like nobody's even upset because they're just.
But that is also an like very obvious problem with the playoff system.
For sure.
Because like these races don't matter. I mean, there's the calendar's 20 something races. I don't want to.
It's like 26. It's 26 races regular season and then 10 more in the playoffs.
Okay.
So it's 36.
So 36 races, I would say what, James? Probably 15 matter. Like if you're a good car.
In terms of what?
In terms of once you're in the playoffs, if like because you win a race, right?
I mean, none of them matter at that point.
Well, I'm saying once you get into the playoffs, and you still have to have you want to have good seeding in the playoffs, and all that stuff.
Points,
so, half the races. Let's just say half the races matter. So, in someone like that's case, like why would you be mad? Like you did everything you could. There's nothing you can do about it. Like
he's like racing to advance though. So we're in the playoffs. He's below the cut line, and he was about to win the race or finish high up.
Maybe he's just a really good person.
Well, it's just like I think but nobody's mad after wrecks at the plate tracks. I think everybody acknowledges that the racing's kind of dumb, and this is just it's a product of it, right? It's not that anybody did anything wrong. It's just like circumstance, and the guy at the front of the field gets spun, and it's literally just complete pandemonium behind him. But everyone's just like, yeah, another day at Talladega. It's just kind of. It sucks because like the endings are always really cool. Like it's always a photo finish. Ricky Stenhouse won by an inch or 2, whatever it was. But yeah, I always just find it funny that like, I feel like drivers used to get upset when it really started getting bad. Drivers used to kind of get a lot more upset, but now everyone's it's almost like you go into the race expecting not to finish. And it's more just a pleasant surprise if you make it to the end.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Imagine your mentality as an athlete that is like, you're so fully expecting to not get to the end of your game that when you do, you are happy regardless of the end result. You're like, huh.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Imagine us. We finally got to the end of the 4th quarter.
Yeah, exactly. You're like a starting running back, but you're assuming you're done at halftime. The game, your game is over at halftime.
But you really suck today. Man, don't care. Got to do the whole thing.
Or the alternative, you're pissed off. It's like, I had a dinner reservation because I've never made it out of the third.
But here's the thing. Even if you suck, if you make it to the end, you're having a good finish because there's few cars still running and it's the only lap.
How many cars were in the race?
I imagine it was like 38 or something started, something like that.
So, yeah, like 10. So like 10 were not involved.
Well, no, because
wreck.
a lot of, we're not involved. Some of them were already out. Because remember, this was the last 3 laps of the race. Others were laps down, got back out. Even ones that were involved in the wreck kept going. They just, duct taped some together and off you went.
Yeah.
But there was one funny one. I think it was Chase Briscoe, maybe. Because I get like the rule in NASCAR is once you're out of the car, your race is done, right? Like you can't do what we can in IndyCar, go back to the garage, fix it, and come out, whatever. So if your window net drops, you're out of the car, you're done. So there was this hilarious radio exchange between, again, I think it was Chase and his crew guy. And it was like, whatever you do, don't get out of the car. And then he comes back, he's like, no, they're telling me that the rear end's too damaged. I got to get out. He's like, nope, push them, tell them to push you. Do not get out of the car. And he goes, crew's telling me I got to get out. The back's too damaged to push it. And he goes, the president of competition of whatever, just said that you have the right to get pushed. You hold your hand over the latch. You do not undo your belts. You don't even look at them. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Do not get out of the car. And you could see, man, the right rear was like in 60 degrees. I'm like, that car can't roll. Like, this is not the safety guy's problem. Your car is totally But I think they jacked up the back of the car with him in it and just dragged him to pit lane.
But then when the car got back, was the crew like, oh yeah, you should probably get out.
I wasn't paying attention that closely, but yeah, there's just no way that car ran again. I don't actually know.
That's our bad. Yeah, you definitely should have now. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, this was your car. Sorry, we saw a different car.
Yeah. We were looking at Chase Elliott's car. Our bad.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wrong Chase.
Oh, man.
Alex, we also, I think, are both a little disappointed. You might not even realize that you are, but you're about to be.
Oh boy.
We were so excited about this rookie F1 race at the end of the season.
Oh no.
And we recorded our episode and then immediately they were like, they decided to can it for this year and readdress it for next year.
I didn't see that. So it's dead.
Dead. Ain't happening in 24.
Man, I was gonna make an excuse to like have a
really
vacation in the Middle East for that.
You still come out.
No, I told Pato if he was gonna race, like I'd come check it out. Lame.
Yeah,
I mean, the Middle East is still great for vacation.
Did they make the decision before they listened to our episode? I feel like probably. And it's just too late to
I'm going to
reverse.
assume nobody at F1 listens to this.
I don't assume anything anymore about our listener base because I have been surprised many times about who does and doesn't listen to the show.
Emails from a guy named B. Eccleston. Is that important?
He has nothing to do with F1 anymore. So
that's what you think. Yeah. That's what he wants you to think. That's why he's so good. So you know how I don't drink coffee?
Okay.
Yes.
Our buddy Bobby.
What does this have to do with Bernie?
No, I was just pivoting because I don't want to say anything about Bernie because he'll kill us.
Sure.
So Bobby tried to get me to he got me to try his matcha latte. You ever had a matcha latte?
Yeah, it's gross.
It is gross, but it's less gross than coffee. And I now have ordered voluntarily at least a half dozen matcha lattes.
What is a matcha latte? I've heard of this. I don't know what it is.
I have no idea. Matcha is a type of tea, I think. And then so latte just means you throw a bunch of milk in it and froth it up a bit. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
What? Okay. Why does Bob drink matcha lattes? I think is my question.
So that's a great question and interesting exchange. So just yesterday I ordered one, or maybe it was 2 days ago I ordered one, and I told him, I texted him, I was like, hey, I don't want you to know. I think I've now ordered my 6th matcha latte since you introduced me to this, just so that I could fit in and feel part of the crowd. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. I don't drink those anymore, but I'm like,
yeah, it's gonna, I can't wait to the next time we're all out for something together, and there's just us drinking black coffee, and then here's James the Canadian in the corner drinking his little green matcha latte. It's gonna be.
I just don't know if I'm even going to do it anymore because I was doing it because Bob introduced me to this world, and then he abandoned the world.
I just can't believe you don't like coffee. You have a very refined palate. You're not an idiot.
Well, thank you. It's one of the nicest things you've ever said to me. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree, but I appreciate the sentiment.
A bit of an idiot.
A little bit. I don't know, man. It doesn't taste good to me in any capacity, in any form.
Yeah.
Never has.
Bourbon doesn't taste good to me anymore either. So
I do coffee with a little bit of milk.
I still like bourbon.
All right. So
tequila's growing on me too. I have a question. Sorry, Tim. No, but because Tim, you probably have something real to say. I've got something.
No,
not
to say. In the least. God,
So
we have like 30 more minutes of this.
when we log on to this platform, you can type in your name, right? And normally you just put Tim or Hinch or whatever. Yeah. Alex's name today is Arson is Annoying.
It sure
now,
is.
I don't think anyone's going to argue with you or disagree with that point.
Some arsonists might.
Maybe they're even annoyed at themselves. Who knows? But Alex, why did you choose that particular title today?
Well, guys.
You can already tell this is going to be great.
I love this. I'm glad I asked this question.
Buckle up.
Okay.
We're going to burn some time on this episode. Okay. So
appropriate term there.
We're all aware of last week, and we talked about in the podcast about how my power went out, and it was a fairly annoying little inconvenience that I had, right? Obviously, still not as bad as everyone else that had to deal with much more severe things, but first world problem, still a problem, right? We've said that before. So anyways, power finally comes back on, and I had a trip scheduled for a buddy's bachelor party up in Montreal. And so we left on Thursday. Power came back on Tuesday, whatever, midday. I don't remember. And so we had this trip scheduled. We were all super looking forward to it. And big group of guys, got a huge Airbnb, and it was going to be a time, right? So we land Thursday midday, check in, hang out at the house for a little bit. We had a fairly late dinner at kind of a rooftop restaurant that was all glass and kind of looking over the whole city, and watched some Thursday night football, had some cocktails, and everyone was like, we want to have what?
You saying football just reminded me I forgot to set fantasy football lineups last week.
I did
Still doing better than me. But anyways, everyone was like, all right, this is, we're going to be here for 3 nights. Let's, the dinner was fairly late because it was Thursday night football. So by the time we finished dinner, it was one of those like longer prefix dinners. It was like 11:30. So everyone was like, we have a cool house. Let's go back to the house. We had a rooftop that was like a rooftop patio. Let's have a nightcap there, go to bed. It's going to be a long weekend. And everyone was like, yeah, that's probably smart. I think the average age on this bachelor party was like 43, right? So not a bunch of kids anymore. I was the youngest by a huge chunk. And anyway, so we get back and everyone goes to bed around 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock. And I get a massive knock on my door. Get up. We got to get out. And I'm like, you mother... Every guy's trip you go on, some dickhead is a little bit too much to drink and wants to jump on everyone's beds and make a big scene and all this stuff.
Or
and I'm
brings
like,
a big speaker to everybody's thing.
Brings a big speaker to everyone's room.
Tim, you're the first one to pass out. You are not the guy jumping on people's bed. Yeah.
And plays Into the Night by Benny Mardones. Or
Mommy.
La Mama. So I was, you're groggy and you're pissed and everything. And we all kind of meet in the central living room area, and there's fire trucks and everything outside. I was like, oh, holy shit. And so we walk out on the street, and I would say about 5 doors down, there is it is a blaze. Like it is a real, like This is not a
Proper,
this is not a someone caught a candle on fire. Like this is a 6-story building that's going up, and we share walls, right? So this is a big problem. And so we kind of standing on the street for a bit, and it's like, holy, like this could get to us. Like right now, it's not. There's a lot of fire people on the scene. Like it's fairly contained, but like it's a problem. And then you hear the news that 2 people have died, and it was a mother and a child.
Jesus.
And they're having to evacuate everyone. It's a restaurant that is below some not Airbnbs, but shorter term rentals, like 6 month, 9 month rentals or whatever. And this is old Montreal, so the buildings are historic and they're older and everything, so probably don't have the same sort of, I don't know what the standard is, but it was very hard for them to contain this fire. And so anyways, so they start roping it all off the street. And so the police were kind of ushering people. They were like, you either have to go into your house or you have to go stand behind the tape because we can't have you here, which is fair enough, right? Because they were starting to move in more assistance and there was fire hydrants going and the whole thing. And it was like, yeah, okay. So there was a group of us that were like, nah, I didn't want to cross the tape because like, I didn't know that once you cross the tape, if you're going to be able to get back in, especially since we have no proof of residency and it's like, oh, it's a rental and all this stuff. So
good point.
Me and a couple guys end up sitting in the like foyer and we're just sitting on the floor by the front door. Cause it's like, okay, if the fire does get to us, we're right at the front door and we can evacuate to the street and all this stuff. Well, actually I take that back. So before we got to that point, I kind of looked at it and was like, it ain't getting to us. So I went back to bed. Someone like 45 minutes later comes is like, gotta get up. It's in the rafters. Like it's in the roof. Like we gotta go. It turns out, and I didn't know this at the time, and it explains a little bit of the panic. One of the person who was on this trip lost a family member in a fire. So some of the reactions were
PTSD, like,
right. Yeah. Like he was upset. He was, and as he should be. So anyway, so then this group of us kind of was like, okay, we're not going beyond the tape. I won't go back to sleep, but I'm just going to sit in the foyer. And so we just sit there on the floor eating sandwiches at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Cause what else are you going to do? At this point, 3 hours has elapsed and nothing has really been contained. And, some things are starting to pop up on Twitter and everything. It's like, okay, whatever. So at about 5:30, the power goes out and we're like, because a lot of us assumed like, man, did this melt through power lines? Because if it was precautionary, I would have thought they would have done it much sooner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's like, okay, we're pretty aware of the fact that it ain't getting to us. So, and then the cops were like, all right, you can go back in if you want to, like they let people back across the tape. So some guys ended up saying, screw it, I'm already up. And they went to breakfast. The rest of us went to bed. So get a couple hours sleep, wake up and called the homeowner. And I'm like, all right, what's the deal? And he had no idea because this is all gone on in the middle of the night. And he was like, all right, well, let me call the hydro company and try and get an estimate on what happened and if this was their proactive response or if something did melt or anyway. So he calls back and he's like, listen, oh, and we had breakfast scheduled at like 10 a.m. So he was like, so I guess the chef shouldn't come. I was like, no, there's no power. And so he calls back and he's like, all right, the hydro company says it was proactive, nothing burned. Power will be back on by around 8 p.m. tonight. And I'm like, okay, like that sucks. Cause like we have a pretty nice house and all of the pretty cool amenities can't be used. Right. But also it's like, it's a beautiful day out, whatever. Right.
So, and our house didn't burn down.
Our house didn't burn down. Fine. Yeah. So we go out and carry on with our day and it starts kind of popping up everywhere we go on the news. And I'm like, man, this is a pretty big deal. And it ended up becoming national news because the owner of the building in 2023 had a fire where 7 people died in a different building. And there's a $47 million lawsuit against this guy. And there's a lot of questionable things that he has done. And he's kind of like this slumlord Canadian real estate guy. And it's like, okay, this is starting to be a little too, like, that's just not a coincidence, right? And so as time goes on, it becomes pretty understood that, well, as time goes on, CCTV saw a masked person enter the building. It was defined as arson. The reason why it took 16 hours for them to get the fire under control was because there was multitudes of accelerants that were used. The entire building doesn't exist anymore. Like that corner of the building, like you can look it up. If you just Google Montreal fire, it's pretty insane. And the power certainly didn't come back on. And everyone, like the whole city was talking about it. It was like, man, was kind of a message that was sent from a retaliating group that is pissed off at this guy. So it's kind of like some sort of gang thing that's happening against each other. And this is how they attack each other, is with burning buildings down. So it was like, damn, this is quite a big deal. So anyways, there were some guys who understandably were like, I ain't staying here. Like, and also with the power off and no HVAC on, like the entire house was filled with smoke. There was no power. There was alarms that were beeping. Like it wasn't a nice place to be. So a couple guys ended up getting hotel rooms, and then the rest of us were like, screw it, we'll stay, like whatever. But we kept getting told, oh, the power will be back on at 8. And then it was like, okay, it's time for dinner. It's still not on. And he's like, okay, well, pack all your bags. And if it's not on by the time, you're close to finishing dinner, like we can find a different place for you. Like the owners were doing great. Like it wasn't their fault. Like we're all just trying to manage this as best we can. And so because Justin Timberlake was in town and it was also a opening game for something.
Probably hockey.
Yeah. A lot of hotels were unavailable.
Right.
So it was like, screw it, we'll just stay. So long story short, or long story long, I should say, power went out Friday morning at 2 a.m. and did not come back on until Saturday at like 10 a.m. So I was getting pretty annoyed because I was like, man, I just dealt with this. And now here we are in a completely different country living on an iPhone flashlight. But
you're the common denominator here, man.
At the end of the day, it ended up being fine. Obviously, very fortunate that we didn't catch on fire. And that was the Montreal arson adventure that I just came back from. So
that's tragic.
Wild.
Yeah.
Like burning down buildings and retaliation is one thing. Burning down buildings with people in it. That's messed up, man.
I'll show you guys. This is what
messed up
we walked out to. Like this is not a small situation. Like at first when I was woken up and I was like, oh, there's a fire, I was like, did someone set toast on fire? Look at this. This is like,
oh wow. Oh yeah, no, that's a whole building on fire.
Like that's a reason to leave. And so
yes,
we are like where we're standing is kind of where we were. So like you're close enough that, yeah.
And that, exactly. You can't see what's happening in the roof and whatever. Like it's
exactly.
It's a sketchy situation, man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's, well, I'm sure the group made do with everything and still had a good time, but
the only, loss was, I'm not going to say who it was, but James will know. Came home one night and it was still dark and, he'd had a good day. And we were traveling via iPhone flashlights and, we're adults. So we take our shoes off at the door and,
very Canadian, by the way.
His bedroom, right. His bedroom was down some wooden stairs and in his socks traveling via iPhone flashlight.
After a good day.
At the bottom of the door, or at the bottom of the stairs, was a glass door. Very fortunately, the glass door did not break. However, it did break off the hinges of the ceiling and rip it out of the ceiling, which was quite a big tree fall hard sort of situation. But again, he was fine. he was like a little bit sore the next day, but
And the door didn't break.
Fine. No, nothing broke. But it's funny. The Airbnb guy, we were talking about some stuff at the end, and he was like, "Hey, by the way, what happened to the door?" And I was just like, I was honest. I was like, "Listen, man, traveling via flashlight in pitch black on steep steps, someone just tripped and fell. Like, really sorry about it. Let us know." Like, whatever, it's fine. Yeah. But yes, that was that. So in the moment, you're like, "Oh my God, are you going to be okay?" And then when they start calling you a dumb bitch, you realize that they're just fine.
I was going to say, we're all at an age, especially because the group there was a little older than you. We're all at an age where a fall could be serious now. Like, I'm not saying like we're 80, but like you could break something.
The funny thing is, this individual fell again. The next day, not down any stairs, just fell. And I was like, I'm going to start buying you one of those necklaces that has like the
little emergency
danger thing.
The life alert. Yeah. That is hilarious. Yeah, it's probably fitting. For his birthday next year, we should probably get that for him.
Exactly.
Subscription to Life Alert. That's wild. Did like the Airbnb owner offer any kind of
so it's not
discount?
It's not for them to offer anything, but we have both filed claims with Airbnb support because it is in their bylaws if there's some sort of power loss for an extended period of time that there's coverage for that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
TBD.
So TBD on that. All right. Well, the rest of the events I hope went well and everybody had a good time.
Yes.
The groom to be enjoyed the trip and enjoyed the company.
He's not taking that as a sign that the nuptials are cursed.
We didn't burn, so
it's fair.
Yeah. We were fire adjacent.
So one of the things that the groom did before he left was buy a whack of these hangover patches.
Dude.
So I'll explain what they are, and then Alex, you can explain your experience with them. So if you go to this website, the website looks shoddy, but it's legit. It's www.buyb1.com. So buy, letter B, number 1.com. And they sell these called transdermal vitamin patches that are the best hangover cure I have ever seen in my entire life. I know the guy that started the company. I'm actually a small partner in the company. These things work. It was originally designed for athletes. It's a B1 vitamin patch. There's no tricks to it. There's nothing chemical in it. There's nothing unnatural in it. It's whatever. You put these things on your skin, and again, it was made for athletes. It's supposed to help you with that kind of like fourth quarter fatigue was sort of the line that the guy uses. I've used them in race cars.
We've used them at your
athletes.
weddings.
Right. So
Bachelor
athletes
parties.
in football, baseball, basketball, like all over from college up to pro are using these things. They're very good. They found a random side effect that it also really helps with hangovers. And the thiamine B1 helps like break down alcohol in a different way and helps your cells deal with it. Whatever. The science behind it, I've read some research on it. It's legit. But I've tried these things and they're great. So the groom bought a whack of them, and how'd that go?
So it went well. James, you've introduced me to this a while ago, but I never, I'm going to be honest. For a large part of my knowing you, I didn't really get hangovers. Like we were younger when we first met, right? And so like you'd feel a little tired the next day, but I would go to the gym the next day and have no problem and whatever, right? And just go to bed a bit earlier the next night and everything was fine. You get to 31, 32, 30, whatever. And your 33rd year and it starts to get a little bit more demanding. So I was reintroduced to these when we went to Colombia last year, and everyone was kind of like, I wonder if like the Tito's is lower proof in Colombia because we all feel pretty good. Like, I wonder if this is
that one night we should have been way worse.
I wonder if this is like some weird Colombian version of the good old fashioned Tito. So anyways, and that was really the last time that I'd used them. And so our buddy ordered a pack and brought him along again. And everyone slapped him on and was like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't really buy it because, there's a lot of companies that offer like these pills or these little shots that you take before you go to bed of like vitamin juice and all this stuff. And like, none of it works, right? So you're all kind of like, sure, I'll put it on. It's not going to do anything, like whatever. And we kind of got to the end of the trip and everyone was like, I feel pretty good. Like I feel way better than
unreasonably good.
Unreasonably good. And this is very different than even I feel when I go to a nice dinner on a Friday night with another couple and have a couple glasses of wine. Like I feel better than that. So that seems suspicious. So anyways, we were sitting around Sunday morning watching football. And one of the guys on the trip is an engineer. And he was like, I'm not, because he went to the website and he was like, I don't really think that I believe this because he's like, I've had B vitamins before. And I tell you what, I don't feel this good. And he said, one thing I have had before is Adderall. And I felt pretty good on that. And so he was like, I would like to confirm that this isn't some transdermal Adderall patch. And I was like, that would be a problem. So I immediately FaceTime James and I'm like, hey, this is some questions that we have. And you answered them and you know the guy and you've used him in race cars and you've used him for a long period of time and all this stuff. And also the reason why we knew that wasn't the case is because he ordered, I think, 200 of them. He was like, this would be way more expensive if it wasn't just B vitamins. So anyways, it's not anything weird, but that is how well they work. People are starting to question what the actual active ingredient is.
And it's the trick is the fact that it's transdermal. That gets into your bloodstream so much more efficiently than if you like take a pill orally. And so that's part of the magic behind it.
Well, and let me tell you, 1 is great. 3 is awesome.
That's the thing. He texts me, when he calls me, he's like, hey, can you overdose on these things? Because I've got like 5 on me right now.
I like that you asked after the fact.
Well, yeah. He was preparing if he needed to get ready to call an ambulance. The answer is no, you cannot. Your body just flushes out what it doesn't use. But guys, legitimately, they're incredible. I've been using them for years. You've been using them and now reusing them. Buyb1.com. And you can actually, look, you brought this up, whoever brought this up. You can use Hinch as a promo code at checkout, and you will get a discount. So if you would like to
pay for this ad that we're now running them,
no, because I'm just telling you as a small partner in the company.
Part of me, James, wants to buy the company and like take it and market it. I don't know, a little differently.
Right. We should just buy the hangover half. He can keep the sports half because he's doing a lot of good stuff in the sports world and he's partnered with a lot of teams and athletes. But like the hangover stuff is great. The joke we made the other day was like, yeah, there's like a couple thousand athletes in America. There's a lot more people than that like to get
alcoholics.
like to drink and have a good time. So I think it's a bigger market we're sitting on. But yeah, buyb1.com, Hinch promo code at checkout. And again, it's not just for drinking. You can use them for if you're training for athletics.
Well, and also like we went pretty deep down the side of the website. They have a mosquito patch.
Mosquito repellent.
I am a big, mosquitoes like me a lot. So slap those suckers on you. Hopefully you don't get bit. It's pretty cool.
A lot to it. So there you go. That's our inadvertent advertisement mid-show. Tim.
Well, now hang on. You're in Canada. What's going on up there?
No, Tim, you had a friend over last night or this weekend that judged you on your couch. I would like to know.
It wasn't so much a judgment
because your aesthetic and the things that you choose to have in your home. Are weird.
Okay. I would like to say my aesthetic is comfortable.
Eclectic.
Or convenient. Convenient might be more my aesthetic.
That's not the aesthetic. That's the function. The aesthetic is eclectic.
Cluttered.
So I
wrong is the aesthetic.
And I love my couch. It's set up with the recliners on either end and it's got the little like tray thing that comes down in the middle.
Because it's like individual chairs, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's basically 2 lazy boys with a tray in the middle.
Yeah. So,
So are you buying a new couch?
I bought a new couch.
You bought a new couch.
I bought a
Dude,
new
this
couch.
was the best. He FaceTimes me hungover the next morning, and he was like, we're like 10 minutes in the conversation. He goes, oh no. I'm like, what? He goes, I think I bought a new couch last night. Like, you think you bought a new couch last night?
Let me ask. You bought it on Amazon, didn't you?
Obviously.
Amazon himself a couch. It shows
has
up next
my
week.
Address. No, it gets in Wednesday.
Well, there you go.
So I have a question, a very serious question. In your Ford Bronco that has a battery alternator and just general problem, how are you fitting said couch that you're getting rid of?
I'm gonna burn that bridge when I get to it.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say I'm going to burn that couch in the front yard.
So you realize that the delivery people are not going to move your existing couch, right?
I mean, I'll just get my neighbor Trevor to help me take it
And
out.
where are you going to put that in your second living room?
No, I'm gonna get rid of the old couch.
Oh yeah. How?
I'll put it on Amazon Marketplace. Say anybody want this couch?
Right, but
Probably
my
do that
question.
today. Say they have to pick it up.
It'll go. It's a cool couch.
I'll just set it for very low. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I highly encourage and endorse you making drunken late night furniture purchases.
But also, this is like an adult decision, right? Because
It's a big step for you.
A couch shouldn't be two chairs kind of welded together. A couch should be a couch that you can lay down on.
I think Hazel's going to miss the old couch.
Well, you can get her a lazy boy.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah,
Christmas
you should
and
do
her
that.
birthday's coming up.
Right.
You could get
Any
a team.
good
You can get a
parent
team lazy
would
boy.
do that.
I mean, you're a lazy boy guy too, so you could just get a lazy boy next to the couch.
I'm in every sense of the word a lazy boy.
You are literally a lazy boy. You look good though, Tim. Have you lost a bit of weight? You look like you're looking slim.
Still losing weight, working on it.
Mm-hmm.
James, you're in Canada. Can we talk
I
about
am.
why you're up there, or just going up and spending time in the Great White North?
No, everybody loves love. Up here for love. My brother had a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get married. He and his bride, Alex, had already technically legally gotten married, but it was like one of these, had to just sign some paperwork for, making sure they could live together reasons. And so they had been planning the wedding for a while. So the wedding was this weekend, north of Toronto. Beautiful venue, really, really nice outdoor space. The time of year is perfect. I mean, the day could not have been nicer. It was like blue skies and sunny, but a really comfortable temperature. So you weren't like sitting there in your suits, just sweating your ass off. It was very comfortable, kind of out in the woods a little bit. It's an old estate, really, really pretty. And it's funny, like the day started off. So like we got there pretty early and there's like this house on the property, right? But this house it looked like it was built in 1850, right? You walk inside, it's all old wood, it's whatever. It was built 30 years ago. The guy wanted it to look like an old English manor.
Okay.
And so that's what he did. He also wanted a moat.
My God. This sounds like my favorite human on earth.
Yeah,
No, it's great. The place was awesome. So the guy built a moat, but then to fill it, he rerouted a stream, like a river, and filled the moat, which then cut off the water supply for an entire town downstream. And the government got involved and told him he cannot just redirect a natural water source, and he had to undo it. So now the moat is just filled with rocks. But you can see where the moat was. Like there was a moat in this old school house that, again, was only 30 years old. So it was like kind of the best of both worlds because the kitchen's like modern.
Zillow, can you set a moat filter?
You should be able to. I think in Scotland you can do that. I don't think that's a North American Zillow function in the app. But so we get there, and so we're staying, like everybody's getting ready at the house. So the girls kind of have the upstairs, and the boys went downstairs. And again, the downstairs is this cool old room with like, again, floor to ceiling, like paneled wood walls. It looked like it was an old thing. And we did what you do. We had a cigar and a scotch. Now, Alex, I know that you're kind of over bourbon, and we're getting into tequila a little bit. I had my favorite scotch I've ever had, and that's bad. It's bad for us. I don't need to be getting into another whiskey. I just
That's interesting.
I don't need to do it.
The majority of our group doesn't like scotch.
I know.
Was it overly peaty?
No, not at all. It was beautifully smooth. It was a Glenmorangie 18 year. It was gorgeous. And then as a gift, my brother got me a Glenmorangie 14 year that was finished in port and bourbon barrels. So I'm very excited to try that because I've had rum finished in bourbon barrels, which is really good. I've had bourbon finished in rum barrels, which is really good. Anything with bourbon involved, I'm for. So yeah, I'm excited to try that. But yeah, beautiful event, beautiful ceremony. It was great to catch up with a lot of old friends and family. Yeah, it was great, man. It was great, a great day. So congrats to the happy couple. And woke up with a bit of a hangover on Sunday, as you do. Didn't have any patches on me, so I lost out on that one. Missed the boat on that one. And yeah, hanging out here. We're recording on Monday. Recording on Monday.
I think it's Monday.
Yeah, I just had to check on my computer. It's Monday. And then tomorrow I fly to Atlanta for Petit Le Mans. So we going racing.
Oh, dang. That is this weekend.
Sure is.
So,
which also means your wedding anniversary is coming up.
Sure
Gentle
is.
reminder.
You're up. I'm well aware. I'm leaving to go to an island.
Is it first or second?
Shut up, Tim. Can we just, I know we're out of time, but give me a quick update on the old FAF guys. Like, I feel like that was a eternity ago. It wasn't really. And this is the third of the 3 endurance races. And so that's coming up. So what's been going on with them since then? Forget like the short stuff, like in terms of like the endurance side of things.
So yeah, I mean, obviously we did Daytona and Sebring, and then through the sprint season they had they had a podium at Laguna and they had a podium at Watkins. But we're looking forward to this one because the honest truth is, like, as much as I hate to say it, and every driver I feel like in sports cars says this, our BOP is pretty not super favorable for us, and so it's tough. It's tough to go racing, especially in short races when you're just like down on straight line speed. So
I thought with balance of power, don't they do stuff to like adjust it if it's not competitive, or is that?
They do, but because obviously like teams and drivers can screw around, and so they have to be really sure with what they're doing before they're going to commit to something. And we have gotten some little things to help, but ultimately what we need is more power. What they've been doing is taking off weight, but like we're fine in the corners. We don't need to go any faster in the corners. We need to go faster in a straight line. And so taking weight off doesn't really accomplish that the same way as just getting some raw power. I'd rather have more weight and more power, to be honest. But it is what it is. We're fighting through it. But the longer the race, the more strategy can come into it, and being consistent, taking care of tires, which if you're lighter you can do, kind of comes into your hands a little bit. So excited about that. What sucks is I obviously haven't driven the car since March. I haven't driven Road Atlanta since 2008. And we are so tire poor on the weekend that we have like 3 sets of tires to get through 3 90-minute practices and 3 different drivers. So it's like,
nice.
Good luck. Get up to speed.
Is it forecasted to be cold at night?
Haven't even looked, man. I haven't even looked. Because there's nothing I can do about that. So I'll stress about that when it's necessary.
I mean, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but is the next hurricane going to get to Georgia by then? Because
valid question.
It's heading for Florida right now.
Totally valid question.
I think it's coming at an angle where it's not going to hit Georgia this time.
Okay.
It looks like it's going like solidly west to east.
West east. Got it.
Let's do a quick little.
Well, James, good luck.
So I'm excited about that. Thank you. Weekend. And good luck with your test on Friday.
Thank you. And next week, we will finally have racing stuff to talk about.
Now, we're going to talk about my new couch.
Oh.
Why? What's happening? Is there a race this weekend?
No, but
I thought you were saying it was this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean Petit Le Mans?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have a test to talk about. We'll have a Petit Le Mans to talk about.
Is that not racing? Is Petit Le Mans not racing?
No, it isn't. Oh. I forgot to because I was in it. I wasn't thinking about it as like racing to watch because I'm going to be involved.
When you compete in it, can you try and put some emphasis on racing hard because it's a race?
I will try to do that. Yeah. I will try to do that.
Cool.
I'll be doing double duty again too with the NBC crew for one last ride with those guys, which will be fun. So yeah, that's it, guys. We managed to get through an entire episode without really any racing talk. Sorry about that, but also you're welcome.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Thim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Thim.